Welcome back. This is another review. This is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And we're going to start off by talking about the overall premise of the movie. So there's going to be spoilers, obviously, like always. And we're going to be going pretty much in depth about everything that we just saw. We just watched it then. So basically what happens throughout the movie is you've got to understand the story of Rocket. So they go through it in this one. And it's about him as a kid, basically as like a baby, getting experimented on by his creator, this guy who wants to be God, but then goes on to show pretty much the abuse he suffered that he never talks about and all the trauma he does not talk about throughout the other movies. And this highlights what he's gone through when you sort of make him feel like he needs a redemption arc almost in a way. And to start this off...
It's also mainly because in it, he's like a stone-walled, sort of hardened character. And
It makes jokes to compensate for the trauma like everyone does.
and it's always sort of like him and Quill going at each other's throat in like a loving sort of way, but they're jabbing and jiving at each other because, you know, he has this underlying past that no one knows about. And this movie is pretty much like a direct link into why he is the way he is and how he became, you know, a small raccoon who can talk and has like a bionic sort of body and is strong as hell and can do all these sort of cool things.
And the fact that you don't know if he's a raccoon, a squirrel, a mouse, they always joke about that, but you find out in this movie what he really is, which is awesome. It's actually pretty funny. It's a pretty good little tie-in.
The opening scene is to do experiments on them to try and create the perfect race.
Oh yeah, because he wants to he wants to make a new Earth.
And the opening scene
without the problems.
It's a very good scene to get the movie going. It's a tiny rocket when he's like a tiny little baby with a bunch of other little rocket babies, and they're all just really tiny and cute, and it's just sort of an awe moment, and then it just sort of shows him getting dragged out of the cage, and then it cuts to where they are now, which is living on Nowhere, which is the Guardians of the Galaxy base.
So another thing that I noticed in the movie was that the lens difference the entire time kept changing, and what I've seen is that James Gunn wanted to be more intimate with the audience and understand that they can get different angles and different, for people who are like big movie buffs, can understand how good the camera shot was on either a close-up or a fight scene, and it kept changing from like 16:9, 10 or 9 or whatever it is to full screen. That was really weird. That didn't make any sense, but I guess...
It was mainly 16:19 Revolution... Is it Revolution?
Resolution.
For the action scenes. So the action scenes were sort of widened screen but more focused, and then the
story arc.
The story sort of scenes, or the more... what's the word? Like the
full
more
screen.
Intimate scenes were full screen, so that you got the full picture of the whole scene itself.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, in a way, it went 16:19 resolution to signify that this is a big action scene coming up, and it's sort of locking you in and getting you ready, I guess, for that action scene.
Yeah.
And then it would go back to the wide shot for,
but it got quite noticeable, I reckon. Towards the middle, I was like, what's going on here? This is so odd.
It was almost like when it was a heavy CGI, it was 16:19 resolution, and then when it was heavy CGI, which is more like a green screen or something, it became
full screen.
Full screen.
Yeah, for sure. And then another thing I noticed is for the story arc of Gamora. So we all know it's been like sort of a mission for Quill to finally get Gamora back to where the old one was and make him fall in love, or her fall in love, and they can sort of live their lives like they used to be. But the whole movie was saying, no, she's a different Gamora from a different timeline, so it's not going to happen. And then towards the middle of the movie, she starts to sway a little bit and becomes more lovey-dovey like she used to be. And then towards the end, they have that resolution finally, and she sort of understands now why her past, or her future self, would I say, would now be in love with him and stuff. But she still probably has even evolved past that and past that love, and now has gone towards a new beginning with her friends, which are the scavengers that's led by Sylvester Stallone. And now she runs it all, basically. She's best mates with them, and she's found a new family, which is not the Guardians of the Galaxy. And I don't know if she's going to come back or not. Probably not. Quills the whole time has been wondering, is she going to love me again? Am I going to get her back? And then you have a little bit of a play on love scene with Nebula as well. Maybe going to take over that role, but then that gets kind of squashed half the time, but not really.
Yeah, because Nebula sort of became the opposite of what Gamora was. She went from being the hardened person to... could she be the love interest of Quill, because she's pretty much Gamora's sister.
Yeah.
Which was a funny sort of thing, because when you first see her, she's like the most hard. She hates everyone, is always mad, always angry, and then the Guardians sort of break down those walls, and then she becomes like a normal.
Yeah, it's okay for her to be a normal human
Yeah.
instead of being this Thanos' pet who needs to kill everything.
Yeah,
And
who's been tortured her whole life.
yeah, they move on. Which you think that Nebula has a sort of a similarity with Rocket in terms of that they've both been tortured. But then at the start, she even says that he's been tortured way worse than she has. So you kind of see that how bad Rocket really is mentally, how stuffed up he really is. But it sort of changes that. And because throughout the whole movie, you probably should mention this. He's unconscious. He gets
3/4 of it. Definitely,
yeah, he's definitely unconscious.
But it has flashbacks that show his life previously, so it's not like he's not in the movie at all. He's in the movie, but it's flashbacks to his previous life and to why this. Because the person who at the start of the film he gets attacked and gets put in critical mode
by Adam Warlock.
Adam Warlock, essentially because this creator is trying to get Rocket back because he's his best test subject that he's ever had, and so it builds up for the premise of why once he's regains consciousness, why he would want to kill this creator.
Yeah, because he was so smart, and he's the reason why he made a decision, or he made an equation that fixed the creator's machine that could age them without making them angry. And because the whole point of what the creator wanted to do was make a new world and a new civilization that was perfect. No anger, could do what they wanted, and if he doesn't, he burns it down, kills them all off, commits genocide, and then moves on and makes another one. That's basically what the Celestials do, really. It's the same thing. And it seems to me that Adam Warlock was like so weak. They always get these big bad characters who are OP and just make him shit.
And also dumb him down so that he can become a hero rather than being an antagonist the whole time.
The whole
obviously,
time.
Will Poulter is obviously going to be set to stay in this realm, and he wants to stay in the Guardians of the Galaxy sort of thing.
Yeah, he's got to be introduced somehow. And once this was sort of his introduction into the Adam Warlock he's supposed to be, he's not an asshole or anything, but he tries to portray the bad guy because his mum told him so, and it's kind of like an indoctrination thing. And then once he's on one of the planets, his mum does end up dying, and he just turns. Like he sees that there's a better life for him on the other side, and he's a change. He kind of becomes changed after the Guardians of the Galaxy show him a different route. But he's always so weak. Like they say that they took him out of the chamber early, and it made him a lot weaker. But that's the guy's comically so OP. In movies, they're always weak. Same like the Hulk.
And because Adam Warlock and his people are also created by the Evolutionary as well, they're created by the same people that Rocket were created by. So that's why he has control, I guess, over them in saying, using Adam Warlock and his mum to get Rocket back. And it should be said that he also has the brain capacity of like a child because he was brought out of his cryo chamber early. So that's why he's a dumbed down character, not like a Thor dumbed down because it makes for comedic value, but he's actually sort of a child, like a Billy Batson from Shazam DCU. He's actually the brain capacity of a child.
Yeah.
Which is why in the Guardians 3 movie he acts irrationally and takes things literally when he's asked to torture someone to get information out of them and then just kills that person straight away because he's like, okay, that's how I take that literally.
Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, a lot of kids don't understand sarcasm, goes over their heads. So, same with this. The one thing problem I had with it was Geordie doesn't, but I do. It's a kind of a pacing thing. Like they went from full serious to traumatic shit and then changed it completely to humor to then get back into the storyline of what it should be. I don't know. It was odd for me to see that, and I don't know if I liked it or I didn't. It's odd. Like they went from Rocket, all the experimentation on Rocket, and then immediately to Drax making a joke about something, like saying he's his second best friend because Rocket's not Quill's first best friend type of thing. And sorry, Drax is the first best friend of Quill, not Rocket. It was odd.
But it was the way they had to sort of get the storyline for the reason why, like we said before, he's going to want to kill the Evolutionary, and when they rescue him, obviously, Rocket that is, because without that we wouldn't actually know that he's been tortured that whole time. And it's sort of in this movie, I guess he's sort of not depressed, but he's sort of sad in a way, Rocket, because I guess in all the movies in a way he's sort of felt like an outcast because he's always had that sort of outcast look to him, like I don't have any people of my own sort of thing. And this movie delves into that and shows why he feels like that because, as we see in the movie, all his people get killed. Yeah,
he's definitely segregated after that. He also is like a lone warrior and then finds Groot, which is really not a human. It says 3 words the entire time.
Yeah.
So yeah, he kind of does. I don't know. It's an interesting arc. I think they should have built it better. I mean, I'm no director or anything, but I think they should have built that pacing better through have that storyline, have Rocket being tortured and stuff, and then go into the movie of what the story's based on, not initially from like it's almost like they had to turn off that horror or shock factor to then funny, so it almost accommodates kids in my view. That's what it looked like, or tried to feel like, so they could get back to funny and stuff. And there was a lot of humor for adults and kids. I noticed they switched that on and off constantly as well, which I mean, I don't know if I like that or not. I'm not a big fan of that shit, but listen, it was a good fucking movie overall. If you want to go watch it, I recommend go watch it, because it's one of the best Guardians they've made for sure. Maybe the first one, then the third one, then the second, in my opinion, maybe.
I thought the
kids now, like how they always have kids. And shit.
Thought it's obviously you're saying that they're having Rocket and build up his storyline and that. It's an easy sell. You have lots of animals in it, and animals in this day and age in cinema is an easy sell. It's like having a dog in a movie, having like some sort of like a dolphin or something like that. It's an easy sell.
Yeah.
Like an Avatar 2. Big giant whales, it's an easy sell. You know, as soon as you have the dog that can talk, anything that has animals in this day and age, it's an easy sell. And just like John Wick, exactly.
John Wick, yeah.
And also follows on to your next point that another easy sell is, okay, let's have a bunch of children, and then the hero save the children. The children in mortal peril. Now, yes, it is a Marvel film, and it's directed at kids as well, which is fair enough. I understand why they need to have children in danger, because then it sort of speaks to the kids that are watching, like, oh my god, look, they're saving children, that could be me that they're saving, and it sort of gives them that segue into their imagination, like this could be me, I could be getting saved by Star-Lord and Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor, like in Thor Love and Thunder. But it seems that
makes it relatable.
In every single movie now, it's like it has to be saving kids. It has to be saving like a group of small children. Especially in
God and Love and Thunder, that was completely all about saving kids.
It could be because now it's all owned by Disney. Disney owns Marvel, Disney owns all this and that, so they're going away from, I guess, the sort of more savage ways of like the original Avengers and shit like that, and then it's going back towards where our market is children. We want to be able to put this movie on Disney Plus and have children watch it and not be worried that they're going to see something that's like scarring. We're going to have some parents coming back and sort of cracking at us because we've given their children trauma, which is sort of interesting because there are a couple of bits in it, like one, Quill drops the infamous one F-bomb that you can drop in a movie, in an movie that's rated M. You're allowed one. He drops a fuck. And then there's also a scene where I guess a guy's face gets ripped off and there's just skeleton and bone underneath. Sort of like Red Skull in the first Captain America film, or in all the films that Red Skull's been in. Which sort of is like, if it's a children's movie, that's any child who's under the age of like 11, 12 years old is probably going to be scarred by that, unless they're, playing GTA at the age of 7, which most do these days. But so that sort of part of it is confusing. Like they're trying to make it real kiddie and a kid sort of movie, and then they drop in stuff like that, which is sort of...
They're trying to appeal. I feel like they're trying to appeal to so much demographic, from like literally 7 to 8 to about 50, 60. Because there was a couple of old people next to us sitting there too. I mean, they were watching it. So it appeals to almost everyone on the spectrum, which I don't know if that's ideally the right way you want to do, but they're Marvel and plus owned by Disney. They can do what the fuck they want. They have that much money.
I will say for this one, which is a common theme in Guardians of the Galaxy, which is probably can't be redone in any other films just because of the way it's incorporated through Quill with the Walkman and but the music in this one I think was the best out of all three. It had Beastie Boys in there, which was a great song to drop in an action scene, and a perfect sort of Beastie Boys song. It also had a song harkening back to the first film, which was "Come and Get Your Love." I think it is by
Blue Man Group. Is it?
No. It's
Hooked on a Feeling. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
It's called Hooked on a Feeling.
Hooked on a Feeling was in there. But this one probably had the best soundtrack. Perfectly put into all the action scenes that it had in there.
Blue Suede or Swede.
Yeah.
What was the one you were thinking of?
The one that says "Come and Get Your Love."
Oh, come and get your... That one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you reckon I'm a good singer?
No.
Why not?
Because...
What if I really dig deep down?
Maybe.
If I hit because I got a little soda in my voice, as you know, right? So because I have that much in there, that's fine. Redbone?
Yeah, Come Get Your Love. Yeah, which is a great song. And that's harkening back to the very first Guardians of the Galaxy. The other thing I found, which was interesting, which I didn't think was going to be coming from the film, is the obviously typical for Marvel little secret ending at the end of the credits, that Chris Pratt will be back. Now, it doesn't say Chris Pratt's going to be back. It says Quill will be back.
It says Star-Lord, yeah.
So it could be recasting him, which seems to be the route these days for Marvel. Obviously, because a lot of these guys who have been acting in this series, in this franchise, has been in there for over 10, 12 years. So they are getting on in age.
Yeah.
And Quill, or Chris Pratt or Star-Lord, he is the least amount of costume that has to be done on any of the characters. He just has to put on a jacket and a pair of pants and he can be Quill. He doesn't have to be like Gamora and Drax, Mantis, and has to do 15 hours of makeup for, the whole time they're filming. So,
Nebula.
And Nebula, yeah. So I think when they say Star-Lord will be back, we think it could be a TV show on Disney Plus based around him on Earth, which is it could be like a buddy sort of thing, like WandaVision. I think it could do that sort of theme, or it could be like him and Chris Hemsworth's Thor taking on one another as like a buddy film TV series.
And we will let you know, because we're going for casting directors very soon over in LA to get cast as that. So we'll tell you really, really, really soon if Chris Hemsworth and Chris Pratt are going to be doing a duality movie with us being their older kids. This is going to happen.
Imagine.
So one of the really good points that Geordie brought up before about the ending of Guardians of the Galaxy is that they pretty much closed the book on everyone that's in there. They did a really good job. So Mantis goes on her own way. Quill retires basically and goes towards Earth and wants to settle down and revisit his grandpa, because Mantis and Drax try help him not run away from his problems like he's been doing for the past 50 years. So
I don't think he's... How old is he? I don't know.
Well, he says 50 is too old. He says he's not 50. So
I think he'd been in his late 30s.
Yeah.
And Drax goes full circle, goes from the guy who was obviously taken... He was
Destroyer.
Robbed of his child and wife, and Drax the Destroyer. And then in this film, he becomes full circle and goes back from Drax the Destroyer to Drax the dad and the father figure, and shows his soft side, rather than, what you'd think would happen in a final Guardians movie, which was probably him dying in a fiery blaze of running out against like a wave of a million enemies and dying like that, which is essentially in one scene how he nearly does die.
Almost does, by the centuries.
Yeah.
On that organic planet or whatever it is.
So
that holds all the records.
And then Nebula steps into the role of essentially Quill, not on the ship though, but on the planet of nowhere, and finds her own sort of home away from home, which she's been looking for ever since she's been tortured horribly by Thanos. Yeah. And then Rocket becomes captain, which is sort of what he wanted to do. If you watch the film, a lot of his dialogue from his flashbacks is that he wants to go into the sky and become captain and fly ships with his friends, and that's essentially what he becomes.
That's exactly right. That's exactly what he does. And then on top of that...
The new Guardians of the Galaxy forms, which is Rocket, Groot, I'm not sure his name, but the guy who owns...
the guy who now took over... what's his name? Oh, I had it. The blue guy's fucking...
Yeah, he's Arrow.
Arrow, he's... Gondu.
Yeah, it takes over Gondu's
Arrow.
The talking dog, which I don't even know where talking Russian dog.
Yeah, the cosmic is... Cosmic?
And one of the
fuck's its name?
Small girls
Cosmo.
That was rescued from the evolutionary ship.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the new Guardians of the Galaxy now.
And I don't know what that new girl's going to do, but she looks like she's got Captain Marvel's powers.
Yeah.
So I don't know what...
Marvel type powers. So she could be in the Marvel film. The
new one.
The Marvels or something like that. Yeah. Could be a tie into the new Guardians of the Galaxy, to the Marvel. So I don't think the Guardians of the Galaxy will return. I don't think Groot will be back. I don't think Rocket. I don't think any of them will be back. I think it'll just be Chris Pratt.
Yeah, hopefully either him by himself being himself, and that's what it will be, or it's going to be him teaming up with either Nick Fury, Brie Larson, or hopefully Chris Hemsworth. Because if they do that, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I don't know what they're going to do, but hopefully they do something half decent.
Yeah.
Be really good. So probably overall, I'd say I want to give it an 8.5. I really enjoyed the movie. Everything was pretty good, apart from some things pissed me off in the movie, like pacing and some character development stuff. But that's a given with Marvel now, and that's a given that it has to relate to kids and all that sort of shit. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'd say at least an 8.5 also. and based on what we've received lately from Marvel, aside from probably Loki the TV series, which was saving grace for them, especially in the Disney TV show
For sure.
realm, it's probably the best thing that's come out in a while. Since probably Endgame, I'd say it's probably the best thing. Like Thor: Love and Thunder was garbage.
Yeah.
I haven't Ant-Man and the Quantum Realm, terrible CGI, just really basic storyline, which wasn't that captivating. Whereas this was a great finish to the Guardians of the Galaxy. Still held the same love and nostalgic feeling from the Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, because the first thing, they were pretty much the start of the fun, enjoyable, joking but also serious side of Marvel and like buddy comedies.
Yeah.
And I think that this film really held on to that.
It did.
And just a little side note right at the end, the chemistry between Drax and Mantis, they're literally like held up this whole movie. Their chemistry is off the charts.
Yeah.
Batista, and I'm not sure the lady's name, but actress, but she was, they're off the charts. It was definitely a step back in the right direction for Marvel.
Yeah, absolutely.
CGI,
Too bad James Gunn's gone to DC.
Gone and going to control DC. CGI was relatively good. The action scenes were great. So yeah, I'd say at least an 8.5 out of 10.
So
we're a bit harsh on Marvel because of how good they've been in the past, and they've never reached those.
It seems to
heights.
It seems to me that I know for a fact that the CGI is even depleting. Like back in 2000s, it looked way fucking better than it does now.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing different.
Like the Avengers first film.
Oh, amazing!
But it's always hard when you're basing a whole sort of movie in space because they've just got to deal with so much
CGI.
It's just all fake.
Well, I was going to say they try not to do as much CGI with so much realism as they can. Like no acting or anything. Like in Star Wars, I know every single thing CGI'd, and look how good it looks, right? And then all of a sudden they put Anakin in there, and it's they change it up a bit, but it's good.
Yeah.
So don't forget, guys. Thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, share that shit. Join our cult. This is NCUT Cult. We out.
Peace.
And cut.